been a while.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, Paul, since the last time we talked.
I think I forgot how to do it.
Yeah, talk or do a podcast?
Talk.
Yeah, well, I get a lot of practice with that.
I spend so much time up here. I don't do much talking.
Although, and here I go off subject right at the beginning, I was reading somewhere that how many thousands of words, I think maybe a day, that we speak less now than we did 20 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
Well,
Texting
that's because
and all the
of the, because of the technology, texting and stuff. People communicate more by texting and whatever than the spoken word. So,
but we haven't done much this winter.
No, we
ice
haven't,
fishing.
We haven't been ice fishing once, Paul. I've been on the snowmobile once. That's it. Yeah, it's been a quiet winter.
Yeah, we got to get out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been a good winter.
Yeah, it's been good. Although we've had some cold weather and the snow has started to pile up the last 2 weeks, but nothing.
Still nothing crazy.
Nothing over the top. No. Just and I see that the another cold night tonight, and then temperatures moderating for 2 weeks. Yep. A lot of days I see are above 32. So,
well, we got a few announcements anyway. I got to make. So we got some merch up on the website.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That'll be active Tuesday. So I'll post this tonight, which should be Monday. Tuesday morning, that should be active. So there's got some hats and a leather-bound journal on there right now.
Okay, yeah.
So I like to journal, and I've got some journals that I really like. So I threw those up there.
Yeah.
So Tuesday, that'll be active.
That's too bad because I just bought a journal. Not that I can't buy another one, but I just.
How many journals do you have?
So I've written 4. I think this is my fifth journal.
It's great to go back in those and look at them.
It is, yeah. So sometimes we talk about, what year a certain event happened, and you can go back and check and see just exactly what did happen and the year and everything, the date, everything. So it makes it nice.
Plus there's something very relaxing about sitting down and just writing down what you did, what you saw, what you experienced. There's something very relaxing about that. Yeah. And it consolidates it to memory. Whenever I write down something.
When you're not only visualizing it, and seeing it written down and stuff. Yeah. So it adds to your memory. Yeah. It helps you to memorize that. So
yeah, I like that a lot. So that's something I know there's some other stuff that we'll put up there here with time, but go little by little. So
you got a blaze orange hat.
Got a blaze orange? Yes.
Same as it was before, Paul? Is it?
It's a little different company.
Is it?
Yeah. The other hats are similar to what I had before.
Yeah.
But we'll kind of just various over time, different colors, different.
Is it things. Is it like the mesh in the back and stuff?
Actually, I got one right here.
Yeah.
No, these ones aren't mesh in the back.
And I like the blaze a lot more, Paul.
Yeah, no, it's.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to order one of those.
What do you mean order one?
I'm going to help out your cause. I'm going to order one. I'm going to pay for it.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'm going to pay for it.
These ones aren't mesh in the back.
Yeah, I love it, Paul. I love it. I love it a lot more. Not the other one, the blaze wasn't quite what I would consider blaze orange.
No, it was like a flame. I couldn't find any that I could get quickly.
Right.
That were blaze orange, and I didn't like the quality of a lot of the. I found some blaze orange, but they were pretty cheap.
Yeah, no, I really like that color. That was.
Then there's a burgundy trucker hat that's mesh in the back.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got that, and then we've got an olive green and khaki that we've had before.
Yeah.
So anyway,
those would be good for out on the water fishing or whatever. The olive green.
Yeah. So those are up there. You can check them out.
Yeah.
Do you want to order one?
My first, like I say, my first impression of that, the blaze orange, I love it. I love the fact that it's all cloth, number one, and the blaze is what I consider true blaze orange.
I'd like to find a good waxed cotton.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
My blaze orange hat that I hunt with, because it's lightweight.
Right.
I don't want something warm on my head when I'm running through the woods, and I used a waxed cotton.
Yeah.
And I like it a lot. I'd like to be able to find one.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could find one at a reasonable price.
I've got one from Filson there, a wax cotton ball cap. So
what else is new?
not too much, Paul. But,
No?
like you say, it's been kind of been a very quiet winter for myself. I haven't been skiing, or I went one snowmobile trip, and that was last Wednesday, and no ice fishing.
No, we'll go. We were supposed to go with Joe Osgood, but something came up.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll try it again. I'll reach out to him again and see if we can.
Yeah, I'd love to go. March is a good time to go.
Is.
If we can find a weekend that everybody can agree on.
If we can get to line up.
I would love to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a weekend with me. You know, I'm sure Joe probably needs it to be
I'll
a
reach out to him,
weekend,
see what.
but it doesn't have to be a weekend with me. It can be any day of the week.
See what we can do.
So, yeah.
How do you go about buying gear or finding quality gear? Because
Well, I read a lot, Paul. So my experience is generally other people's experience. What other people that engage in a similar activity as I do. Like we talk about, we're deer hunters in northern Maine, and we spend a lot of time in the woods, whether it be tracking or still hunting. And so over the years, I mean, there's been a lot of people that have done it, and you take what has worked for those people. That's how I have chosen, you know.
Yeah. So one thing that made me kind of ponder this is it seems like you're trying to hit a moving target nowadays. And it's probably always been this way, but it seems harder and harder to find quality gear.
It is.
And it seems like when you find something that you like, it doesn't stay that way very long anymore. And it seems like it never changes for the better.
Right.
Like you find maybe a piece of clothing or a piece of equipment that you really like, and you maybe want to buy more of it. You like it a lot, piece of wool gear or something, or you end up needing to replace it down the road. So you go back to what you used in the past. But it seems like my experience the past 20 or 30 years has been, I find something that I like, and gosh, I'm like, get a little bit of it, and then maybe 3 or 4 years later, go to get some more, and it's like completely different.
Yep.
Made never better. It always seems to go in the wrong direction.
That is an interesting thing, and that's not just only in hunting gear, but our society.
It's ubiquitous with everything.
Yeah, because we bought kitchen appliances 40 years ago.
Terrible now.
40 years ago that lasted 30 years. Refrigerators, for instance, no problem lasting 30 years and still run.
Yeah.
And you replace them, and the lifespan of the new one is 7 to 10 years.
It's like everything's disposable.
And you're wondering, how can that be?
Yeah.
How can we have gained in technology, yet this stuff, and then they complain about the environment, and all this stuff has to be disposed of.
Yep.
Why wouldn't they try to make it, so it would last longer?
Yep.
And well, I know why. We all know why. It's
comes down to money.
It's money.
They want to sell you stuff.
And my dad he called that planned obsolescence.
Yep.
And they make it. They know where it's going to fail, how it's going to fail, and when it's going to fail. And it keeps the consumer coming back. And you said, and I had another thought, Paul, there. And, years ago, 40 years ago, we would buy wool from LL Bean, wool pants and wool jackets, and they were quality wool products.
Compared to what they sell now.
Exactly. They were wool products that were made, I believe, and I may be wrong, but I'm pretty darn sure they were made by Johnson Woolen Mills in Vermont, and LL Bean had a contract with them, and they would put their tags in them, but they were, I believe, a Johnson product. And all of the sudden, I remember I got a pair of wool pants about, 20 years ago, and it was made in Turkey.
Yeah, it was the last pair I ever bought from them.
And you could read a newspaper through it.
Yeah.
And it was like, and to a lot of hunters, a lot of people may not even know or care, but
Yeah.
To somebody who really puts their equipment through the paces and relies on their equipment being top quality and good equipment out in the elements, you notice that stuff. You know, you're not getting. I mean, we can be pretty hard on our wool.
Yeah, you know, and I want something. I'm big into stuff that I like nostalgia. I don't mind spending money on something that's good,
Right.
that I can have for basically a lifetime to be able to pass down to my kids. And it's like that piece of equipment can tell a story. You know, it's not, I just don't want to buy something, use it for a couple of years and throw it away. You know, you sit down and you kind of look at, you know, and it gets worn and maybe a little tattered. I like that. As long as it still functions and does what it's supposed to do. Like guns are the same way. They get a little beat up, little nicks and stuff in them. The bluing wears off.
And you expect that.
Gives it character.
Right.
And you look at it and you think, you know, if that thing could talk, the stories, the trips that it went on.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of that stuff, it's not that way anymore. And I remember L Bean tried to rectify it because I remember obviously there was some complaints or something going on because the wind would blow right through them.
Yeah.
And they put like a wind stopper material on the inside.
Right.
And that was, so they had their wool with some sort of wind barrier, and it literally was like wearing a ski pant outside. It sounded just like a garbage bag on your legs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was like, that was the beginning of the end
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. Well,
of
they
that.
became their products, Paul, were more geared towards the fashion and I don't want to say.
Yeah. The you know,
the hunting and the fishing kind of went by the wayside.
Yeah.
And that's what that company was originally founded on, was to the point that no longer was the hunting shoe called a hunting shoe. They changed the name. That was a little bit too...
that became a little politically incorrect.
Right. So it all of a sudden became the bean boot.
Yeah.
You know, and I, yeah.
Which I should have sold some. I had a couple pairs. Remember those took off and women's, it became a fad.
Oh yeah.
They were spending
everybody,
tons of money.
Yeah. It was no
Those
longer
boots, and I'm like,
a hunting shoe for sure. It was a fashion. Well, that's what I was
got a
saying.
closet full of them. I could have sold them
Bean
for...
turned more towards fashion and, you know, the yuppies, and it turned more towards just fashion and stuff. And it no longer was the outlet for the hunter and the fisherman and stuff. And
I don't mean to rag on L Bean, but
well, it is what it is.
I mean, they became commercialized.
They did.
The typical.
They did. Bought out by a bigger company. I don't know if it was Johnson or somebody that had bought them out, Johnson & Johnson, or some corporation had bought them out, and a lot of things went overseas. And it's not the same. And I still, you know, I have LL Bean products but not to the extent that I used to.
No.
Not to the extent that I used to.
No. So when I was thinking about this, when I buy gear, I take a pretty, I don't want to say scientific approach, but pretty analytical approach. The same way that I would go about trying to find like the correct answer about something. You know, the first thing that I do is I think about what's my intended use for something and what do I expect to get out of it? Because it's kind of different from person to person. There's some things that, like, we'll look at the winch that I bought. I kind of I went a cheaper route with the winch for my pickup. And that was because, you know, if I'm looking at what am I going to get for use out of a winch? I don't four-wheel.
Right. How often are you going to use that winch?
It really was primarily to be used that one trip that we went moose hunting. And I probably will never use it again, but it's nice to have. It's kind of a little insurance policy in my back pocket.
Yeah.
So did I really want to spend, you know, $1,200 on something that's going to be a big paperweight? I don't need it to use every day. So reliability and longevity isn't going to be that big of an issue for me.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. You know, when we buy a pair of wool pants or a wool jacket, we know that we're going to abuse that.
Yeah, and I want it to last.
Yeah,
like
we're going through miles and miles of raspberries, which can shred clothing and
so
stuff.
So if I'm using a pair of wool pants, once a season,
right,
to go walk down a road or something.
right,
I mean, do I want to spend $400 or $500 on a?
right,
No, it's probably not going to be a good use of my money.
right.
I just don't need it. You know, and another thing, so it kind of brings us into value. You know, I kind of always, when I'm looking at, say, a piece of gear that I need, I'll kind of put a monetary value in my head of what I pay for it, before I even actually know the price. Sometimes it's a little bit higher that I'd be willing to part with. Sometimes it's not as much. And then that kind of depends too on if the product I'm buying is, say, something more along the lines of an investment. So something that I could, say, sell,
or you're going to have
later on down the road.
Right.
So
even if you pass it on to your children or something, and that you'll have it like a firearm or whatever.
Well, that's when, so like, I wouldn't mind paying above market value for something I'm going to have all my life and pass down. And it kind of has that nostalgia.
Right.
But if I'm buying something, say like camera gear, like lenses, our lenses are something that when I buy a lens, I know if I don't like the lens, I can typically sell it on the used market for pretty close to what I paid for it. Lenses don't, if you buy a good lens, they don't change that rapidly, like electronics. And so I don't want to pay too much above market value because I know I don't want to lose much money if I don't like the lens or I want to get rid of it. So I take a different approach with stuff like that. But if it's something that, like a piece of wool or a gun, and if it's something that I like, I'm really going to get a lot of value out of it over my life, I basically put a price on it that I would be willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
And don't really care what the market dictates. Because I feel like it's going to last me my entire life and I can pass it on to kids. You look like you want to say something.
No, I was just, one of the thoughts, it's funny, Paul, that there's a consideration that a lot of people don't give that I give now. It's something I consider is, I'm 66 years old. Well, I bought a gun this past fall. And I go, at 66, most people are done hunting and stuff. And do I really need to buy a gun at 66 years old? I talked to, because you'll eventually get it, or Bo, your son, my grandson. So,
I was like,
that's a consideration now. At 66, you're going, well, do I want to spend $1,000 on something that, at 66, what kind of use am I going to get out of it? So and do I really need it? Or,
I was all for it. I'm like, oh yeah, you need that gun. Buy that gun.
Yeah, because you knew where it was going to end up.
You definitely need that gun. Maybe a few more.
But yeah, I did buy the gun and I did use it in the moose hunt and enjoy it and I feel
guns.
That was a big consideration with me was, wow, if I'm 35 or 45, you think, well, I'll have this but in reality, if I'm lucky, if I'll have it for 20 years,
Yeah.
That
value, it varies from person to person.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you're looking to get out of something. And like I said, I value nostalgia quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I have no problem, maybe for something that I feel I'm going to have for a long time and pass down.
Yeah.
I have no problem probably paying more than I should for it. But if it's something, that I don't feel I'm going to get a lot of use out of, or I want to maybe sell it if I don't like it or don't need it, I'm going to be a little more stringent on how much I spend and what I part with for money. Yeah. But you'd mentioned research. Research is a big one.
Yeah, I read a lot. So, and I've, over the years, I have read so much on, oh my goodness, fly fishing gear and hunting gear and stuff. I mean, everybody has always, outdoor writers always put gear-related topics, together for an article, for a magazine or a newspaper style. And I've always read them, I want to know what, you see the bag dumps, they tell you what they carry and I'm always interested in that and stuff. And
it's a good starting point. One thing you got to be careful of is, I always say follow the money.
All right, commercialism.
It's the same way that in my profession, you're always trying to find the correct answer, and you got to be able to tease out who's biased and who's not.
Yeah.
Who's feeding you the right information, who has their hand in the pot.
There's a lot of companies out there that'll tell you what you need. And
Well, and then there's people that are being paid by the companies.
Yes,
to
exactly.
tell you what you need.
Yeah. They get they get some free gear, and they're going to push that gear and stuff. And
is there a conflict of interest there?
Yeah.
Definitely people's experiences. You talk to someone that's used stuff.
Yeah.
And one thing that this channel has been a good avenue for that is you'll kind of get a lot of people saying the same piece of gear that they like.
Yeah.
So these are all unconnected. They're not talking.
Yeah.
And you're kind of getting a consensus. Now, consensus isn't always truth.
Right.
Okay. Consensus is just everyone's agreeing on something.
Maybe point you in the right direction.
But you start kind of, getting info here, getting info from here. And then you look at the source of the information. Like, is this person an authority on the source? Like, I don't care how many letters someone has after their name.
Right.
Because sometimes people will say they're qualified by...
They'll use that too to push something for sure.
By their name or their...
You just turn on your TV and you'll see that.
Yeah.
But another thing too, Paul, with being older, I know what I need now. I've used it.
Yep.
I've used it. And not just me, but yourself. You're now 43 years old. So, I mean, you've been in the hunting game for 30 years.
I know what I like and I know what works for me.
So you've used products for 30 years and you know what you need and what's worked.
Yeah.
And what's worth it and what's not worth it. And it doesn't take long. I mean, experience is a great teacher, but so.
It's like the gun debate. A lot of people have opinions on what you should be using for a gun.
Yeah.
And that's something that I will not bend on.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes it's coming from someone who doesn't understand the full context of what it is they're suggesting.
Well, they're reading articles.
Right? Yeah. Like we were talking about with Robbie.
Yeah.
Say some of the Magnum guns and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't want to carry a gun with a 26-inch barrel.
No.
That's a big difference from 22 inches. So much so, even like an 18-inch barrel. It's great to have hunting in the big woods. That's why a lot of people will hunt with a carbine.
Right.
There's a huge difference when you start swinging through the woods with a gun that has a 26-inch barrel versus 18 or 20.
Robbie's equipment serves him well, but it would not serve us at all, Paul.
No.
The 16 power scope or whatever.
Yep. And what his gun? It was 14 pounds?
Yeah, something like that. It was in the teens there.
So
that would not serve us. That gun would not... even swinging it, 26-inch barrel, trying to swing on a deer that's running. I mean, that's why a carbine is so good that,
And how blooded. I remember him talking about, he hunted with a 742 for a season.
Yeah.
And the only reason he went to the 7600 is he just didn't like how the 742 carried.
Yeah.
And I can understand that. The 7600 does have a nice balance to it.
Yeah.
But I think my 7400 makes up for that in other areas, for me anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, you like it. I mean, it was your first deer rifle, and so...
And that comes to the nostalgia part.
Yeah,
I've shot every deer but one deer with that gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't break with that.
Yeah.
Although I do get the itch to get the 30-30 out.
Yeah.
Because I shot my first deer.
Yeah.
With that 30-30.
Yeah, they were popular at one time.
Those carry good.
Yeah.
Those are a light.
Yeah, short.
Oh man,
short barrel.
You feel like a gunslinger.
Yeah.
When you pull that up to your shoulder.
Yeah.
It snaps right up there.
Yeah.
One thing that I've found, because people, like, if I talk about, like, say I've got a Filson cruiser jacket that I have always liked. I don't wear it tracking because it's too heavy. But people have bought cruiser jackets and they're like, well, or another Filson garment. And they're like, well, this is made in Indonesia. I'm like, you got to be careful. Read the description.
Yeah.
And read the specs, because you'll see companies like Filson, they'll have their traditional clothes and they now say stitched in the US. But they would have certain lines of clothes made in the US.
Yeah.
And then very similar garments that were maybe a little more trendier, some other stuff incorporated into it, like wax cotton and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those were imported.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you got to read the description. If you want, it'll tell you if it's imported or where it's made, where it came from. So I always try to read because I've made the mistake. I order something and I'm like, this isn't what I thought I was getting. And I just didn't do my due diligence to read what it is that they were saying. And another big thing that I consider when I buy something is customer service from the company. I like it when I buy something and I have a question and I can call up the customer service line and I don't have someone reading off a computer prompt.
Right.
They actually know.
And it helps if they speak English.
It does.
Yeah.
So that checks the first box.
Yeah.
I can understand what they're saying. And two, they know the product. They use the product.
Yeah.
That was why the Goal Zero solar generators that I bought, I think like EcoFlow Delta was actually a higher rated solar generator. I think Consumer Reports had it higher rated. But Goal Zero had impeccable customer service, and people had said their customer service is top notch.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at buying one, right, you're going to spend a couple grand on one. I don't want to just throw away a couple $1,000. And, and electronics are different. Electronics, I feel like stuff can go wrong.
Yes.
And it's not like buying an axe or
a crowbar. What can go wrong with a
crowbar? Or a wool jacket, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that can just stop working when you get into electronics, especially something like that. So so I just kind of cold called the company. So this is what I'm looking at doing with this product. And the first person I talked to, man, he had all kinds of like on how to hook it up certain ways with different things and what you could do. Very knowledgeable without having to read through prompts and he basically was like, this is how I use this product. And so that kind of sold me on that. I went with kind of having the insurance policy of good customer service if I had an issue.
Right.
Versus maybe a better product. I don't know. Maybe EcoFlow is just better at getting their name out there and branding. But yeah, I went with where I felt like it was less risk for me to spend a couple $1,000. So yeah, reputable customer service is a big thing for me, which is hard to find nowadays.
It's very hard to find, Paul. It's very hard. It's tough being a consumer all the way around. Well, I don't care what you're buying. Figure out if you're buying a vehicle or insurance.
You don't want to be taken.
It's tough. Yeah, and it seems like the world is set against you, you know. It seems like they look at their job is to separate you from as much of your money as they can, you know. And I have these discussions, and I'm the guy that's pretty up front. You know, I just figure there's no mincing of words, you know, when I deal with so I tell them, and I did that with an insurance company this morning. And
insurance is just
Mom's home insurance is due on March 6th, but I couldn't renew it until I had the paperwork that says I was the administrator of her estate. And so I went in this morning and they wanted to charge me for the year. Well, I thought I'm going to pay quarterly.
Yeah, 100%.
Because we're going to try to get rid of the house as soon as possible. And her immediate was, which I knew she was going to say, well, we'll give you your money back. And I said, sure. And I said, yeah, you might. And I said, but I'd rather have it in my pocket than in yours.
Yep.
And I looked right at her and I said, I don't want to be disrespectful, but it flows from me to you really quickly. But from you to me, not so quickly. So I said, but they didn't want to do it that way. They wanted me to, because Mom had always paid it, to get a little bit of a discount, she'd always paid all of it in advance. Yeah. And But I'm in a different situation. I didn't want to pay all of it, and they did. She made a call, and they allowed me to pay quarterly. So
I had a similar thing like that happen where I forget now if it was on auto pay. They overcharged me anyway.
Yeah.
And I said, why? They ended up, it was my auto insurance. And I go through the same company, but it's paid differently.
Right.
I don't pay them together. Somehow at the beginning of the cycle, they had paired those together, and my homeowners is paid automatically from a different account, and then my auto insurance, and they billed the two together.
Yeah.
I called them up, and I was like, why did I get charged, X number of dollars for my auto insurance? They're like, that was your home included. I'm like, you already took I already paid for my homeowner's insurance.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, so they'd made a mistake. And they said something like,
you should have told them you're going to charge them a late fee.
I wanted the money back. And they said it was going to take like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it didn't take 2 weeks for you to take it out of my account.
Right. And that's exactly what I told this lady.
And so we ended up basically negotiating into something that I didn't have a bill for the rest of the year or something. But still, it wasn't very, I'm like, it took you a push of a button to get it. But you're telling me it's going to be 2 weeks for me to get it back.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, and I tend to be, and I try to do it respectfully and without any emotion or anger, but I've got to the point where I pretty much tell them the jig is up. I know,
Yeah.
Here's the deal. And I looked at the lady in the eye and I told her that. I said, I know how things work.
Yeah.
So, I'd rather have that money in the checkbook than in your checkbook or in your hands. So they did it anyway. She accommodated me, but she didn't think she could at first. So,
Of course they say that.
Yeah. Sometimes you do have to push a little bit too. And I was never a pusher, but you have to learn how to be a little bit of a pusher.
At the end of the day, here's how I see things. If I'm writing the check, I'm making the decision.
That's exactly, it's your money.
So whether it's a contractor, they try to tell you they want things done, oh, we got to do it this way. Sorry, man. I'm paying for it. It's going to be done the way that I want it, or I'll find someone else who will do it that way. If you look, when you're dealing, not to get off on this, but when you're dealing with someone who's doing something for a living, a lot of the time they're trying to do it as easy as possible for them to maximize their profits. So whether it's, time-wise, it's going to be more efficient for them to do something a certain way. I'm not getting into like what's the right way or wrong way to do something, but there's more than one way to do something, and they may have motivating factors to do something a certain way because it
benefits them.
It benefits them. They're going to get in and out, get the job done, get their money.
Right.
But if it's not, at the end of the day, I'm paying for it.
Right.
And if you don't want to play ball,
I'll find
someone else that'll do it.
Yeah, I've learned how to do that, and today it's complicated because we're into so many things, and so there's.
And I can be stubborn too, because it's like maybe I'm hiring someone because I don't know how to do it at that time. But if I feel like I'm being taken, I'll figure out how to do it.
Well, I do a lot of my own stuff.
That,
Paul.
I'll do it myself.
I got a tractor that needs servicing here in 5 or 6 hours, and I've heard one person took their tractor, and I've told you the story. It was $500 to have the oil changed and some filters changed and stuff.
Yeah,
there's no way.
So
there's no way I'm paying somebody $500 to drain the oil out of a pan and switch out a few filters.
So I've got a pretty good sized tractor, a lot of hydraulic fluid and stuff like that. And when I bought the tractor, one of the things I negotiated into the purchase price of the tractor was the first service was on them, because I talked to a number of people about getting their tractor service, like $700.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's crazy.
And I'm like, $700 to have a tractor service? Like, holy frick! So I was pretty adamant about, and it was funny when I called them up. I had an issue with something. I had a mouse get in over the cab, and I called them up. And I was talking to the service department, and it was under warranty. They were going to clean it out and do some stuff. And I said, well, while you're over there, while you have it, I'd like to get the first service because it was after, I think 50 hours was the first service. And I was at like 46 and some change or whatever. And I said that was included in when I bought the tractor, the first, he's like, I've never heard tell of that. And you get in and looked, he's like, no kidding, you're right.
Yeah.
First service was included. He's like, yeah, we'll take care of that. So
yeah.
they did it. I think they didn't lose any money because it was a warranty issue that they took care of. And I think that balanced out the service. But anyway, so back to, buying gear. And some people, like, I'm going to use an example. I had someone kind of have a hard time understanding. They're like, man, you didn't want to pay $1,200 for a winch, but you'd pay $1,200 for tires for your pickup.
Use the tires every time the truck rolls.
Then I was joking. I was like, I wish I could have got the tires for $1,200.
Yeah.
Because tires, they're more like $400 a tire.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I know you didn't buy those tires.
It was pushing $2,000 for tires.
Yeah.
So, and I said, he's like, a winch you'll have for a lifetime. The tires are like a wearable product. I said, exactly. But I use the tires every day.
Yeah. Thousands and thousands of hours those tires every day in use. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't four-wheel.
Yeah.
So a winch is, I don't want to say it's useless. It's nice to have.
But since you've bought it, you've used it once.
Just to pull your moose up onto the trailer.
Yeah. I understand that logic.
And 100%. I understood that going into it. That's why I couldn't swallow the pill.
Yeah.
For a worn winch would be, if you're going to use something a lot, because I've also heard they've got excellent customer service. Like they take care of their customers. There was a guy that had commented, he had a worn winch and something happened to it.
Yeah.
And I think the story went, they were like, a new one's coming your way.
Yeah.
Now with the winch that I bought, I can guarantee that's not happening. Yeah. Something happens to it, it's going to be my issue.
Yeah.
But tires are kind of, for me, it's a non-issue. And that's where how I value something's going to be different than someone else.
Right.
The woods up here, the woods roads, which are great. We've got excellent logging roads.
Yeah. But
they fix them with shale.
Right.
Which is terrible on a tire.
Right.
And not just that, the number of miles that you travel. So that sometimes if we're going to a hunting spot, it could be 30, 40 miles in the morning. You're not driving those roads at 10 miles an hour.
No, we're moving right along.
Driving at like 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be changing a tire. And it never happens at a good time. You don't get a flat tire at a convenient time. It's cold, middle of the night.
Wet.
Rainy, muddy. It's never... And so, tires, I feel like if you buy a good tire, it's worth it. If you use it, if you're not on the highway.
Right.
And so I've had really good luck with BF Goodrich, and I ended up going with the BF Goodrich KO3s.
Yeah.
They ride excellent on the highway. Yeah. They ride excellent on dirt roads. I get excellent life out of them.
Yeah.
Easily 5 years. No problem to get 50, 60,000 miles out of them if you rotate them.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's a non-issue. Like, it's like, I have no problem.
No,
I think I'm on like my 5th or 6th set. Yeah. And I have never had a flat tire.
Yeah. I did the same thing, Paul. I had a truck and they come with passenger tires, which is, I don't know, maybe 2 or 4 ply or something like that. Yeah, they're
terrible.
And I did. We were up fishing, coming back. I got a flat tire, drove a rock into it, and changed over to 8 or 10 ply tires, and I've always never gone back.
Yeah.
Bought a new truck in 2018, and it came again with passenger style tires, not light truck, and I took them off immediately.
Yeah.
And I won't. We spend too much time, in the woods and stuff, and it's too hard on tires that I won't run a passenger tire in the woods.
And for me, even when I spend a lot of time in the woods, I don't drive into places that are really that questionable.
Right.
I prefer to walk. Right. I'll use my legs if I want to if I'm looking at a spot and I'm like, am I going to try to drive through that? Could I get stuck? It's really a non-issue because I'm like, I've got 2 functioning legs.
Yeah.
A walk would be nice. I'll walk in instead of beating and pounding on my truck.
Right.
And then end up getting stuck and crap like that. But when I got thinking about tires, I got thinking about, you had mentioned a little while ago about how much engineering goes into a tire. I'm like, I kind of want to look that up to see exactly what. And you're right. There was an engineer I was reading who was explaining the amount of thought that goes into designing a tire.
Right.
And I kind of was like curious as to one thing is like longevity. What makes a tire last a long time? And he had kind of had a breakdown of like the top factors that contribute to tire wear. And actually, tire design was like 5th on his list. He said the number 1 contributing factor to tire wear is driving style. He said that's the biggest influence on how your tire is going to wear.
Yeah.
The second one was road type. So if you're driving on rough surfaces versus smooth surfaces, curvy roads versus straight. Road type was straight line versus lots of turns and twists.
Right.
Road surface was smooth versus rough. The 4th factor was vehicle type. So what type of vehicle you have the tires on. He was explaining that obviously a light, small car is going to contribute to less tire wear versus a big truck. But he did say you'll find that big truck tires and stuff will last just as long as a tire on a little vehicle because it's a bigger tire.
Exactly.
And there's more rubber to...
Right.
But he was like, if you took the amount of rubber that was worn off, it's going to be more off the bigger vehicle.
Right.
But there's a lot more tire there to wear down.
Right.
So it'll probably last just as long.
Right.
It's just there's more tire to wear through.
Yeah.
Then tire design was 5th.
Yeah.
And then he had some other ones like temperature and wet versus dry surface. But it was pretty interesting, the amount of, because they can design a tire to go 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
But there's this whole give and take.
Right.
On basically how the tire wears, how it rides, what kind of traction you're going to get.
They're going to say traction is always,
there's this whole game.
Wet traction when it's raining, how it sheds water and stuff and channels water.
If your intended use is a track tire, they're going to have a different design focus on that versus like an off-road tire.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thought that goes into producing a tire.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that example of the winch and tire, this is one thing where it comes down to, the person knowing what your intended use of something is going to be.
Right.
And I guess not letting markets dictate.
Yeah.
What you think
your logic, Paul. Like I say, tires you're using every day. And you're going to put those to the test.
Yeah. Every day.
Every day.
Snow.
Because we're on ice and snow up here almost every day of the winter, and you're going to put that tire to the test and you want it to function properly.
Yeah.
And
because you would always had BF Goodrich, and then you bought a pair of, was it Goodyear? They're like a Kevlar tire.
Yeah, it was a Goodyear Wrangler Kevlar. And I bought it at Sears, and I'd had a flat tire. I don't think I'd ever bought, I don't know if I'd ever bought BF Goodrich before that, Paul. I think that was the first 8 or 10 ply tire I had.
Okay.
And I think I bought BF Goodrich since then. Yeah, and it was a Kevlar. It was a Goodyear Wrangler with Kevlar and stuff. And the selling point when I bought it, I took it in because I'd had a flat tire coming out of the woods with my passenger tires, and took it right over to Sears and had them taken off and put light truck tires, they called them. And they said, well, the foresters, and then of course they use their pickups in the woods day after day, and this is what they run, Maine State Foresters. So I that's what I put on. And they were all right.
They didn't wear the great. They wore weird.
No, yeah, they did.
And they rode terrible.
Yeah.
They were a very stiff tire.
So I went to BF Goodrich, and they're a good tire. BF Goodrich KO2 I run, and they're a good tire. So
Yeah, I've got nothing but
I'd buy them
things
again.
to say about them. Yep.
So,
But then there's the other contributing factor. Talking about tires, you know, if someone has big wheels on their truck, it's going to be a lower profile tire. That changes the dynamics of the whole situation. But
one tire I really like, and I put them on your mom's car, which is a different, you know, it's we're using them totally different. On road, on highway is the Michelin.
yeah,
Michelin's a very good tire.
I mean, there's only a handful of tire companies.
Yeah,
actually,
they ride really well
companies.
and they wear really well. So I'm very happy with the Michelins.
So yeah, it's a tough space nowadays to buy good quality gear
It is.
consistently because
Yeah.
even with Filson, their wool has changed in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
On where it's sourced from and
Yeah. Well, you can't even buy your double cape jacket anymore. The
No.
cruiser, the double cape.
no. Oh, one thing I do want to mention, which I fail to remember this on a regular basis, but the used market with wool in clothing, because most people don't use their clothing like I do.
Right.
And as someone had made mention, you know, like they bought, you know, because I'm always saying stuff isn't made like it used to be made.
Right.
But you can still find this stuff
Yeah.
on the used market.
eBay and stuff. I think.
Hardly used.
Yeah.
And so I need to be better at looking at used clothes because they're not used. Like, you know, these wool jackets you find, people aren't tracking deer
Right.
everywhere in the US with a wool jacket and shredding it to pieces. So you can actually find some original wool from back in the day that's got minimal use.
Yeah.
Probably save you a pile of money.
I knew some people that they were big into the beagle wear that and they found some used stuff on they thought they'd hit you know, and they liked it and they got some good quality beagle wear jackets and stuff on.
Like I like some of Filson's waxed canvas stuff, and you can find it in the used market, reasonably priced.
Yeah.
You know, compared to what it would cost for a new garment. And yeah, most people don't use it that hard. So yeah, I guess, you know, you just got to do your research, be diligent.
Yeah.
Think about what your intended use is and what kind of value you're looking.
Yeah. Well, you know, and like I
something.
say, Paul, if I was somebody that was into a particular, I would look at somebody who's done that sport for a while and what are they using?
Yeah.
You know, what are they using? Am I going to be
talking to people, man, it's great because like, especially on here.
Yeah.
There's been a few items that a lot of people all kind of said the same thing about different things. And I'm like, I got to try that out. There's something to it.
Yeah.
That many people have that many good things to say about it.
Yeah, and I've got stuff. I'm wearing stuff right now. I've got darn tough socks now. I would have never, 15 years ago, I'd have never paid $30 for a pair of socks. And
it's crazy.
but I that's all I wear now is darn tough socks. So, not to say they're the best. You talked about another company, -33, that are producing. They may be just as good or better. I don't know, but I tend now to just go top end on socks. You know,
I will. Darn tough socks. I mean, they feel like they could be indestructible.
Yeah,
they feel like a well-made sock. They just, I'm not sold on the comfort factor with them. So that's kind of, it comes down to a value thing. Like $30, if I'm not totally sold on, they may last a long time,
lot of money for a pair of socks.
But they don't feel that great. Am I willing to, kind of give up longevity on a sock for a little more comfort with another brand? It comes down to personal preference on a lot of that stuff and what you really want out of a piece of gear. Because like you look at Sitka and that stuff, I don't foresee like a piece of gear like that lasting 30 years.
Right.
I could be wrong, but I don't think you're going to see.
And there again, our tradition is, that's not what was worn up here in the Northeast.
No.
And I mean, it's a more of a Western style product. And you see a lot of the shows. I watch a lot of hunting shows, elk hunting and stuff out west or up in Alaska for sheep or whatever, and they use the Caillou and the Sitka big time. You know,
the designer hunters.
They are, and they're again. You know, they've got a show to produce, and they've got that brand, you know, front and center and stuff. And I'm not saying I've never owned any. The Caillou attack pants I own, but
those are comfortable.
Yeah,
those are really comfortable pants.
Yeah,
I mean, I could see myself wearing them camping and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know, hiking and they're definitely a comfortable pant.
Yeah,
and fit good too. But
so
not gonna wear them tracking deer.
No, you wouldn't last very long with those tracking deer, Paul, because the water goes right through them.
Yeah,
I was surprised at that. I wasn't happy with the way they handled water.
Yeah, they dry quick.
Yeah, but
they dry quick.
November getting soaked in. No, those would not be. No. They would not be good. Right. I'm sure they must make a waterproof pair, but the attack pants wasn't it.
I'll stick with wool.
Yeah, for sure. I would never wear them tracking.
No. I mean, they got zippers and stuff like that. That all kind of all kind of messes up with your tracking. But was there anything else to add?
No, that.
Because I'm always thinking about. I just hate wasting money. I hate buying something and feeling like I didn't get what I paid for.
Yeah, well, we all hate that,
and I'm not a shopper. I don't impulse buy. Usually everything's pretty well thought out. Yeah. Like, is this something I really need? Is this really something so I don't buy I'm not looking for sales. It's
sometimes it takes me years to do that. I had a snowmobile and I wanted the cargo box on the back and brand specific because it's set up for a system to attach it to the Skidoo snowmobile, and man, they were charging $370, $500 for a little plastic box.
That little box is that much?
That box was $370 something.
That must be like 1,000% markup.
And it was, I got it for $340. With tax, it was around $350, Paul. That little plastic box.
God.
Took me 2 years anyway to pull the trigger on that. And Narda kept telling me,
just do it.
You need to buy a box for it. And it kind of, and somebody had said the same thing, build a little box and little wooden box and paint it black. And I thought, oh man.
Then it starts looking.
Yeah. If I was just ice fishing, I probably would do that. And now I thought, I bought the specific box for that, and it was $350 with tax.
Oh my God!
It was a lot of money. That little plastic box.
That's the world.
The bigger one, they had a bigger one, Paul, and that was $600. Yeah, it was. But I did it.
$600.
$600 for a cargo box that goes on the back of a.
No, thank you.
A Skidoo snowmobile.
Yeah.
Gen 4, the Ling system, their Link or whatever they call it, that snaps on there. Yeah. Yeah, crazy money. Toys are expensive anyway.
They are.
So.
That's why I don't have a lot of them.
It's good thing to.
They own you.
They do own you.
You got to take
Not
care
only
of
to
them.
Everything owns us. I mean, whether.
Then you feel obligated to use it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you're using it, aren't you? You're getting some use.
It's out here because it's not. Yeah. So he doesn't use his snow sled, so he brings it out here so I can haul the kids around the house on it, and all the kids want to do is ride around the house all day. And I'm going,
they don't give you a rest.
God. It is a motivator, though, for them to get their schoolwork done.
Yeah.
Right. Annabelle was up this morning at 6 o'clock in the dining room by herself doing her schoolwork. And I'm like, Annabelle, I was out here reading. I went in to get some more coffee. I'm like, Annabelle, what are you doing up? I'm getting my schoolwork done so we can go on the snowmobile.
It was 13 below this morning, Paul.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just what I want to do. So thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate
13 below. I know. I don't want to be out there riding around the house on a snowmobile at 13 below.
Yeah. And how old is that snow sled? 3 years
It's
old?
2021, so it'd be about 4 years old now.
It doesn't even have 1,000 miles on it.
Nope. Nope. Hasn't got 1,000 miles.
900
on it.
miles?
Yeah. Yeah. So
I probably put 100 of them on just going around.
yeah, I think you put more miles on it than I have. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. Yeah.
But
All right. So yeah, gear. Take your time. Do your research. Talk to people.
yeah.
Ask yourself.
And do you really need it?
Yeah.
Is it something you really need? That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
If you don't mind spending the money if you're gonna use it and you need it. It's when you buy something and you say, like the
Why did I buy
snowmobile
that?
with 900 miles on it and 40. Did I really need that?
Yeah.
So
Why did I buy that?
Yeah.
I just
well, the
Maybe-
the grandkids love it, so that in itself is payment enough.
and maybe some people are probably okay with buying something and not using it, but it's just never sat well with me when I buy something.
I tend to
it's
be conservative.
just
and
sitting there taking up space.
things have to justify themselves with me.
I'm like, man, I got money tied up in that for no reason.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm the same way, Paul, and that's probably why you're that way. You lived with me.
But then, well, I mean, I'll spend money on some things that people are like, man, how much did you spend on that?
yeah,
Like, I'll have it forever.
yeah,
And I probably
well, it's
can
up to
sell
the
it
individual
for- yep.
to
And I
decide for
probably-
themselves.
probably could sell it for what I get into it,
Right. Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, we'll get out ice fishing soon.
Yeah. Well, skiing,
work,
ice
so,
fishing, snowmobiling, we got to do something.
Yep.
So winter is quickly coming to an
Yeah,
end.
we spring
Not that-
ahead next weekend, right?
We do the 9th,
That'll be
March
nice.
9th.
Yeah. That'll be real
So-
nice. You can already feel the sun intensities.
Yeah, even at,
totally
like I
different.
said, at 13 below,
the house warms
this
up so
morning-
quick.
it does, and the eaves are dripping and
Yeah.
stuff. The sun hits the roof, and the sun has got some power to it
Yeah.
now. So you notice a big difference.
When I was looking at the weather yesterday, I was thinking, oh, that's going to be a cold morning. But then I'm like, it's going to be sunny.
Yeah.
It'll be nice
Yeah.
and warm in the
Better
house
days ahead.
with very little effort.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I guess check out the website. We'll have some gear up there on Tuesday for sale, and then we'll go from there. So,
Yep.
I guess until next time, get outside.
It's good for the soul.
See ya.